The exact moment I walked into my high school reunion in an understated dark dress, I realized that 20 years had changed nothing about how these people looked at me. Nobody offered a second glance as I stepped past the crystal chandeliers, holding a generic name tag that lacked any title or distinction. That was fine by me because hiding behind my sleeve was a West Point ring that represented 2 decades of elite military, service they knew absolutely nothing about. Standing in the center of the grand ballroom was my younger sister, Lauren, holding a microphone while addressing the crowded room with effortless charm. She had spent 15 years building her public career at the Department of Justice, and she proudly announced her latest high-profile promotion to the entire crowd. Then she pointed toward me, offering a backhanded compliment about how I had always been uniquely simple, prompting polite chuckles throughout the room. I took my seat at a table near the back exit, surrounded by half-eaten appetizers and completely removed from the gold-embossed place cards at the front tables. Before long, my old high school boyfriend, Julian, strolled over with a drink in hand and a familiar smirk on his face. He patronizingly asked if I was still stationed somewhere in a desert or stuck pushing paperwork, openly mocking my choices while onlookers whispered that I had wasted my early academic potential. Rather than making a scene or defending myself, I calmly excused myself from the table and stepped out onto the breezy balcony to check my encrypted military phone. They saw a forgotten washout in an off-the-rack dress, but they had no idea I had once briefed international military leaders in that exact same outfit. Underneath a trench coat, standing in the cool night air, I reflected on how my quiet dedication to national security was something these status-obsessed people could never comprehend. Julian followed me outside to the balcony, holding another glass of scotch and trying to dissect why I had turned down top-tier law schools to enlist so many years ago. He arrogantly claimed that I had thrown away a brilliant future, totally unable to grasp that I had chosen a calling larger than his narrow ambition. When Lauren joined us to drag Julian back inside for photographs, she threw a few more jabs about my quiet life before walking away, entirely unaware of the high-stakes world I actually inhabited. Later that evening, I ran into my former history teacher, Mr. Vance, who remembered my early passion for strategic warfare and asked if I had ever served in classified units. I gave him a subtle nod, keeping the details locked away, before retreating to my private hotel room as the reunion wound down. Inside my room, I unlocked a heavy black security case using biometric scans, revealing a glowing interface that connected me directly with high-level Pentagon officials regarding an ongoing global threat. My liaison informed me that a compromised security network required my immediate expertise in Washington, giving me less than 48 hours to complete my personal business before emergency extraction. I looked at my military uniform stored secretly in my luggage, taking pride in the single silver general star pinned near the cuff. I had carried heavy secrets and invisible burdens for 2 decades, and I knew I had one final evening to endure before returning to the shadows where I truly belonged. The following night at the reunion banquet, the host took the microphone to present the most distinguished alumni award to my sister, prompting enthusiastic applause from everyone present. Lauren took the stage and delivered a polished speech about leadership, subtly hinting that some people simply lack the strength to step into the spotlight. Julian stood up to toast her as a true leader, loudly mocking those who supposedly spent their lives performing menial labor on remote military bases. As the room erupted in laughter, I quietly stood up and began walking down the aisle toward the main exit, completely untroubled by their childish disrespect. Julian called out after me, but I kept moving into the quiet, dimly lit hallway towards the outdoor grounds, ready to meet my ride. The night air enveloped me as I walked past the lawn lights, my encrypted device vibrating with confirmation that my military transport was officially 6 minutes away from arrival. Suddenly, a deep mechanical rumble echoed through the sky, growing louder until the ground beneath our feet began to vibrate intensely. The outdoor party lights flickered as blinding spotlights cut through the darkness, scattering champagne glasses and sending confused guests scrambling in panic. A massive, unmarked military helicopter emerged from above the tree line, hovering directly over the manicured lawn before touching down with a thunderous roar that blew leaves and debris everywhere. A high-ranking officer stepped out of the aircraft in full dress uniform, his boots crunching on the gravel as he marched past the shell-shocked crowd directly toward me. He stopped 3 feet away, brought his hand up in an impeccable salute, and loudly announced that the Pentagon required my immediate presence for an urgent briefing. The entire crowd went dead silent, with Julian dropping his glass and Lauren standing completely motionless as they heard him address me as a lieutenant general, my close friend. Chloe stepped forward in utter awe while my sister stammered out questions, unable to process that the person she had belittled was a high-ranking military leader. Julian tried to apologize, blubbering that he had no idea I was serving at such an elite level, but I simply told him that true service does not require a public audience. After giving brief directions to my officer, I boarded the aircraft as flashbulbs went off, and my sister frantically pulled out her phone to record the unexpected spectacle. By the time I landed at headquarters, my sister had already posted an inflammatory podcast episode claiming I had weaponized my rank to upstage her achievement. My commanding officer showed me the viral online backlash, warning me that civilian media outlets were turning my sudden appearance into a massive public controversy. Shortly after, Chloe reached out to me with crucial information about how Lauren had spent years secretly manipulating my public image behind my back to advance her own career. Julian met me in my temporary office, confessing that Lauren had once forged emails to remove my name from school honor lists to keep me in her shadow. Chloe then arrived with archived files revealing that Lauren had even intercepted my official military award nominations years ago by claiming I wanted total anonymity. Discovering that my own sister had systematically erased my achievements to fuel her own, vanity hardened my resolve, making me realize it was time to confront the narrative she had spun. I traveled to the alumni auditorium where Lauren was giving a public presentation on leadership, surrounded by former classmates, faculty members, and local journalists. I walked down the central aisle in my formal military blazer, holding a folder containing official documentation and classified photographs of my service alongside international commanders. Stepping up to the podium, I held up the evidence of my career, addressing the audience directly and explaining that true honor rests in quiet duty, rather than superficial applause. The entire room remained motionless as I declared that you can remove a name from a wall, but you can never erase a life built on genuine sacrifice. The board chairman immediately stood up to announce that my name would finally be placed permanently on the school wall of honor where it belonged. Days later, I stood on the White House lawn as the president presented me with the Medal of Honor, acknowledging 2 decades of silent devotion to the country. After the official ceremony, I met Lauren at a quiet cafe where she finally broke down, confessing that her arrogance had always stemmed from a deep fear of living in my shadow. We shared a long overdue moment of sisterly connection, agreeing to put an end to years of resentment and foolish competition. I eventually chose to teach ethics at the military academy, guiding the next generation of young leaders who were ready to serve their nation with integrity. When I returned to my old high school one last time, a new bronze plaque bearing my name was unveiled in a quiet hallway, far away from grand stages or dramatic speeches. Surrounding me were young cadets who looked up to my journey, finding inspiration in a story defined by patience, resilience, and unyielding truth. Standing there in silence, I realized that true strength never needs to shout, because authentic purpose eventually speaks louder than any lie ever told.